Welcome to Martin Survival. Today I'm going to test out and go over my military pup tent. So stick around and I'll be back with you guys shortly. Alright, so welcome back to Martin Survival. Now, of course, I have it set up and it's ready to go right now. Once again, the military pup tent, it's all staked down. The guy lines are nice and tight. I have a few knots in it. And I will walk you through in exactly how to set this up using only one person instead of two in a later video. One of my buddies, Sean Kelly, and an instructor here at Martin Survival showed me an excellent way and very efficient way to set this up, like I said, using only yourself. So I want to talk about the materials used for this pup tent, and I also want to discuss the practical use carrying this thing around in the desert. So is this thing practical? Absolutely not. It is very, very heavy. It's a canvas construction. So carrying a pup tent, which is two shelter halves snapped together in the desert, is just too much weight. Especially the small amount of water the desert has, it can really burn the calories and burn up your hydration. So carrying around this, not really smart. Maybe a thin sil nylon tarp would do just fine. For camping, practicing primitive skills or bushcraft like John and I are doing right now, this is practical. It's going to retain its heat at night because of the thick canvas construction. In the desert, we do have high winds and low temperatures, so this is a plus. A tent that's made out of sil nylon or just a nylon tent is going to blow away and it'll collapse on you. So you want to make sure you have something nice and secure, and this pup tent will do that. And once again, it will retain its heat. Now I want to show you right now what I also included after I staked this tent down to prevent the convective breeze entering into my tent and cooling me down. Now, as I said before, you need to prevent the convective breeze from entering into this military pup tent and cooling you down at night. So once you set this thing up, you'll notice there's about a 3-inch gap at the bottom all the way around the entire shelter. So what you need to do is prevent the air circulating inside of this tent. So what I do is, if I'm around a heavily wooded area and there's a lot of cottonwood trees, I'll use willow leaves or the cottonwood leaves to prevent that air going in. In this case, I used a lot of this clay-based soil to block off the breeze from entering in once again. So this is going to act as a wind barrier from cooling me down. So that's just something to keep in mind when you do construct one of these things. It's always good to have a shovel along with you in your vehicle kit. Now I want to take you through the inside of this pup tent and also talk to you about options for shelter halves. Now, when I construct this into a shelter halve in another video, I will show you a demonstration on how that'll keep me warm. So let's start off with that. What this is, the pup tent, is, as you guys know, it's two shelter halves just snapped together into one A-frame type shelter. Now this, along with the sleeping gear that I have right now, will keep me warm just through my body's heat, radiating through this canvas material. If I have just a shelter half, there's one of two things I can do, or I can do both depending on how cold it gets at night. The first thing is, of course, having the shelter half nice and tight and building a fire along with a fire reflector in front of this canvas material to radiate the heat back towards my body. So that's one option. Another option is digging a coal bed. So what I mean by that is I would have to dig underneath the soil and burn a nice hot fire for a good 4 hours or plus, the length of my entire body. Then I can add stones to that and heat up those stones. After that process is done, I can then bury it with 5 to 10 inches of soil. What that'll do is all that heat will radiate from the ground by cooking the moisture out of the soil and having that nice hot bed of coals radiating from the ground onto my core. So that'll also keep me warm. Now, like I said, if it's extremely cold outside, below zero, I can do both, a coal bed and a fire reflector along with a wool blanket, and I'm set. So what I'll do now is, it is starting to go sundown, so we probably have another hour or so of sunlight till that sun dips down below the mountain, and we'll get a good night's sleep. And I'll walk you guys through that, so stay with me. Now, one thing I want to add regarding a coal bed and a fire is you should always, always, always burn the coal bed or start the fire before you set up your shelter, just so this doesn't catch. All right, folks, so as you can see, the sun is down. It is now nighttime, and we've had this fire going for probably 2 or 3 hours. But at nighttime is when the temperature, of course, it really drops, especially around midnight. And having a fire right now is absolutely essential before we go into our shelters. So, you know, I'm really enjoying this right now, and John is too. So what do you think about that pup tent, John?
I may end up getting one. As a matter of fact, I see a lot of uses for it. The canvas, the way it is, I would probably adapt it and maybe wax coat it.
Yeah, I was thinking of the same thing.
Something like that,
yeah.
But it's not really practical if people are thinking about in terms of survival kit.
Not at all.
It's
way too much weight.
You're not going to carry that in the desert.
Right. That's right. That is right. Even though that canvas is extremely tough material,
it's very tough.
It's just very, very heavy as well. So, you know,
well, the way I look at it, Jeff, my truck is a pack horse.
Yeah, yeah. Same with the Jeep.
Yeah, that's where I keep my heavy gear.
Absolutely, not on your back. That's
Never.
just too much weight in the desert, especially when you're walking 5 to 10 miles, scouting different areas. It can dehydrate you, and it can dehydrate you fast.
Yes, it can.
You're pulling more weight. You're using more energy and burning more calories. So, I mean, if you don't have the hydration to replace it with, which the desert is known for a lack of water, don't carry it. Carry it in your car as a part of your vehicle kit. But yeah, like he said, you know, putting a wax coat on that is actually a really good idea. The reasoning being is that is waterproof right now. Well, it's water resistant, I should say. What happens is once the rain hits that and your body touches an area of that canvas, which most likely it will at nighttime when you roll over and toss and turn, you can touch that canvas, and in that area the water will start permeating through. So what that wax or that oil coat is going to do is it's going to repel the water and really shed the water. Even when you touch it, it will not permeate through that material.
Now when you wax it, there's a process that you actually go through using like white gas with wax and a double boiler and all this other stuff. It's a big process, and they actually used to do that on circus tents long ago, and they stopped doing it because it's extremely flammable. It is dangerous. So if you were to do that, be very careful.
Yeah, but it's something to keep in consideration, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely. Man, this fire is nice.
It is cooking my knee.
Well, it's about 10 o'clock, around 10 o'clock, Arizona time. Arizona's an hour ahead from California. And I'll tell you, this little pump tent is pretty toasty inside. All I have is a very, very thin sleeping bag. And I'm using my jacket as kind of a pillow. If I need an extra layer during the night, which it'll continue to drop down, I'll just throw that jacket over my core and I'll be set. I have my wool socks on, got a wool beanie on, and of course my handy headlamp. Headlamp is absolutely a necessity in my kit. Carrying a flashlight around to keep on pointing it at the ground to see what you're doing isn't an option, so this is hands-free. If you're going to carry a flashlight or a candling device, a headlamp's the way to go. Tomorrow morning we're going to wake up and we're going to make a crawdad trap. So we're going to strip down some of the willows and make a trap and see what we catch. Probably brew a nice cup of warm tea to wake us up and keep us warm. We got that stream not too far from us, so I can boil up some water and get nice and toasty in the morning. One thing we ran out of is firewood. Man, we gathered so much today, and I processed most of it with that little Baco Laplander saw. A lot of work, a lot of work, a lot of calories, a lot of hydration. It is so important to keep hydrated out here, even during the winter time, because in the winter time you don't realize you're sweating. Oh man, tomorrow we're gonna have to get so much more too. We're gathering some of the mesquite, and the mesquite burns so well. It just burns nice and hot. Burns hot, and it burns for a long time. Has a nice slow hot burn to it. Great, great, great wood. Nice dense wood. Some of it was wet, so we had to dry it off. But yeah, this pup tent, man, it's nice. I gotta say, this canvas construction is far superior than any tent you can buy at a, I should say any nylon tent you can buy at a sporting goods store for the winter time. This thing just really retains its heat. The wind was blowing a little bit after I shut the camera off, and this tent was it was holding up. It was holding up fairly well. Very, very little movement from it. So I'm gonna get the camera shut off, get some shut-eye, and if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll come back to you guys. But I think I'm gonna sleep pretty well after using the axe to split and process wood, and using that Laplander saw to process it, and then we can start weaving our trap, see if we can't get us some lunch. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Well, I just woke up not too long ago, and probably about 10 minutes ago. And let me tell you, last night it dipped way low, probably in its high 20s, low 30s. I stayed pretty warm though, but I could just feel outside that it was extremely, extremely cold. So my sleep gear did quite well. And breeze started picking up and wind started blowing a little bit. Not much. I could hear the tarp outside start to blow, but the canvas pup tent didn't blow at all. It held up quite well. But man, it's cold outside. I could even feel it right now. This battery on my camera was actually completely full when I shut it off last, and now it's completely dead. So it shows you how cold it can get in the desert. It's no joke out here. It's so important to have the right shelter, the right clothing, and the right equipment and gear. But now I gotta get up, and got some coals in the fire, I can guarantee it. What I need to do is I need to gather some wood. So I'll probably fill up my water from the creek and let that water boil just from those hot coals, and make a nice warm tea and get some firewood going here.
Well, I just checked one of my temperature gauges that I have in my pack. A little bit more reliable than the watch. 29 degrees right now. It's cold. It's very, very cold. Like I said, folks, the desert's no joke.
having the proper clothing is absolutely essential. Bed of coals right in front of me are still pretty warm, so I need to, like I said, I need to go around right now and get some kindling. I need to throw on an extra layer first. Beautiful sunrise, that's for sure.
Alright folks, so that is just about going to wrap things up for me today. Now my overall thoughts on the Military Pup Tent, you really can't go wrong. Very strong, very durable, and it will hold up to a lot of abuse. The downside is the weight. So keeping it in the back of your vehicle or once again in a base camp will work out just fine. Hauling it around the desert is really not an option, like I said, due to the excessive amount of weight. For the price point, around $15 to $20, I highly recommend it. And in my opinion, it is going to far outlast a nylon tent. Especially out here in the West Coast where we get high winds and a lot of dust storms, that will hold up, like I said, to a lot of abuse. So with that, I do appreciate you joining me for this video. I'm Jeff with MartinSurvival.com, and we'll see you in the next one.